I'm Alex Weathersby, and this is my web series review for The Writing Majors. The Writing Majors is a vlog-style series about three college roommates, Jane, Emily, and Oscar. The characters' personalities are based on the personalities of famous writers, so Jane Austen, Emily Dickinson, and Oscar Wilde. There's also minor characters whose personalities are also based on writers. Some things that I really liked about this web series were I loved how they wrote references to the writers' lives into the characters' narratives. I thought that was really fun and cool. It added an extra layer of interest to what was happening in the series. You're wondering, how are they going to play this off? What are they going to keep in? What are they going to take out? How are they going to kind of modify this to make it more interesting? I also liked the strong themes of friendship. Jane, Emily, and Oscar live together. They interact a lot and they have very varying personalities. Emily is maybe more quiet and she seems to suffer from anxiety. Jane is very kind of bubbly and outgoing, kind of pushes everybody to kind of be their best selves and do what they want and take life by the horns. And Oscar is extremely dramatic. Everything has to kind of be a production. He's definitely, I think, one of the most fun characters of this web series. It could have really easily gone into the characters clashing and maybe not responding so well to each other, but there's clearly a very strong friendship between them. There's clearly a very strong love between them. All they really want is for each other to be happy and for each other to succeed. And so that, I feel, is a really strong pull to this web series. I thought that the series was very funny and very well acted. I thought it was awesome. I really enjoyed watching it. I really liked the series. One technical thing that is just a personal preference is that I prefer a wider depth of focus, and there are some shots in the series where there's a shallow depth of focus. What that means is that when you have two things on two different planes, this is here and then there's another thing here. If this is in focus, then this won't be. This will be out of focus, and then vice versa. If this is in focus, then this won't be in focus. And that typically depends on the type of camera lens you have. Sometimes you need a special lens to get a full deep focus, so this and this will be both in focus. I just find it difficult personally when characters who are on different planes like this are having a conversation and one's face is in focus and the other one's isn't. If you don't maybe have a lens to fix that problem, there's always a way of staging something maybe differently or placing the camera in a different area to kind of avoid that problem. Something else that I didn't like was I felt I wanted to see more of some of the side characters. All the side characters in the series are also based off famous writers. One in particular, Charlotte, I felt that she was kind of underdeveloped. Kind of came off like she was going to play a bigger role than she ended up playing, and so I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more of her and see maybe the side characters' lives intertwine with the three main characters a bit more. I felt so bad for Emily. I felt that for a lot of the series, she kind of gets treated as though her anxieties and her very many stressors are a burden. And while I understand her friend's frustration that maybe they can't do things because of her, I felt really bad that she kind of had to deal with a lot of people around her telling her that she just needed to kind of get over and move on from these anxieties. I don't know, I felt like that just made me feel really bad for her and maybe didn't ingratiate me to the other characters as much in that moment, because I felt like it came up quite a few times where I thought that they could have handled it in maybe a more sympathetic way. And then there were no people of color in this web series, which again, I say is a very common problem in web series. It's my most common complaint, as you can clearly see. You've heard me say it several times by now. And I just find that particularly frustrating as a white person. I see myself represented all the time, pretty much everywhere. In almost every web series, there's somebody like me. And even if there's somebody not like me as the main character, they're at least like a side character or somebody walking on the street. So I just can't imagine how frustrating it must feel to watch a web series and not see anybody who looks even remotely like you, much less is maybe the exact same ethnicity as you. So I just feel like that's a definite thing when you're looking at consuming media critically. Representation is one of the easiest places to slip up. I would watch this web series if you really like classic novels. Not only are there lots of events from the writers' lives kind of taken into account in terms of their narratives, there's some references to some of their more famous works and the context that surrounded those works. So if you really like classic novels and classic literature, I would definitely watch this web series. I think you'll really enjoy it. If you like modern adaptations, so you like pulling events and real life people or maybe even fictional characters from the past and kind of transplanting them into a new context. The themes are the same, but the narrative has to be modified to kind of match this more modern world. If you really like that as a genre, then I would definitely watch this web series. If you like having multiple main characters with very different personalities to kind of flesh out the story, this web series could have easily been made focusing on a single character. It could have focused solely on Jane and her difficulties with pressure to have a romance in her life and trying to get her book published. It could have focused solely on Oscar and his dramatic life and all the things that go into it. It could have focused solely on Emily and learning to push past some of her fears. But instead, the series focused on all of them, and I would say fairly equally everybody. I felt like I knew everybody on the same level. So if you really like multiple main characters or multiple perspectives as part of your web series, then this would be a good one to try. If you prefer a more singular main character, as I just described, then you might want to try another web series. If you feel like you only really want to get one character's perspective overall, or you feel one particular perspective is better to really develop and then the other ones you can go without. If you prefer to see things that happen on screen, which tends to be less common with vlog style series unless it's a character kind of rushing in and interrupting. And so if that's something that you don't like and you would prefer to see everything happen on screen, then I would maybe try another web series. If you dislike college series, maybe because if you've watched a lot of them, sometimes the same general themes of, am I going to be able to find a job? Am I going to be able to find a romantic partner? Joining clubs, not joining clubs, time to go to class. If you've watched a lot of those web series, then those same things keep coming up over and over again. You can get kind of tired of them. They can seem kind of watered down. Or if you're just a much older viewer and so college series don't really hold the same interest for you, then I would maybe try another series that's set with working adults or older characters who have maybe different priorities in their lives other than graduating, finding their first job, finding a romantic partner, but not necessarily looking towards marriage and babies. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. I will put a link to the web series in the description box. If there's anything you liked or disliked about the web series that you want to mention, please do. I really want to hear other people's perspectives. Yeah, I'll see you next time.